Every pregnancy needs utmost care and attention. But certain pregnancies need a little extra attention. An RH negative mother carrying an RH positive baby is at increased risk of complications. BSV is at the forefront to ensure safe delivery in every RH negative pregnancy.
Hello and welcome to the outside view on the pre-show of the second match today. It's match 13 between South Africa and England. South Africa come on back of an undefeated start. Sunedis and her team have been doing really good for South Africa. When it comes to England, just backstage, Danny Van Niekerk was mentioning that they are a wounded animal, and they're coming after back-to-back losses. So it's really interesting to see that. I welcome on the show my two experts today, South African captain Danny Van Niekerk and former Australia cricketer and a World Cup winning player Julia Price. Welcome both of you to the show. The big news is South Africa has won the toss and chosen to bowl first. I'll take to Danny first. Are you surprised by the decision? Because what we are seeing is teams are not opting to chase. The only sure reason is whosoever is batting first is winning most of the games.
Yeah, look, I am a bit surprised. I'm not there to see the conditions, and I mentioned in the previous previews and stuff that South Africa has been so reliant on their bowling in the last couple of games. They can't be too stuck on that the bowlers need to do the job, and they kind of need to win games for them. So it's good to see that maybe South Africa is challenging themselves and hopefully playing the conditions. Again, it is a bit of a surprise, but it's a World Cup and you kind of have to step up in all facets of the game. And today they really need the batting to click against, I guess, a very good England side, even though they haven't been going well. I think, as you mentioned and as we mentioned, is beware the wounded animal. They at the moment have nothing to lose, so they're going to come hard at every single team that they're going to play going into the next couple of games.
They're going to come hard on every single team. I'm going to take to Julia now. Julia, England, not the greatest of starts to the tournament, defending champions. The big change we are already seeing, Lauren Winfield-Hill is out of that team. Daniel Wyatt is shifted to the top of the order. The one change into that team is what we expected. Charlie Dean comes into that particular squad replacing Winfield-Hill. Your thoughts on that? What England needs to do now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the sort of change we thought was coming, and we just didn't know when it was going to come. And unfortunately, I feel a little bit sorry for her because, the catch that Lauren Winfield-Hill just couldn't take a trick and got out to that absolute specky from Deandra Dotton there at point. Probably anyone else she may have dropped, but that's cricket, unfortunately. But I'm really pleased to see Charlie Deans come into the team. At Mount Maunganui, it's a turning pitch, so it'll be good for spinners there. We've seen that so far. And she also is quite handy with the bat as well, and probably lengthens their order a little bit as well. I like the fact that Danny White's gone up to the top of the order. Again, I feel that she could nearly just be given a bit of a free rein, bat a little bit like she does in the T20s when she opens, and just get them off to a bit of a flyer and just play with that freedom. Obviously, Amy Jones, she hasn't got a very good record against Ishmael, so I'm sure they'll just try to hold her off a little bit longer to see if they can leave her in that middle order and get her getting some confidence up and trying to get some runs out of Amy Jones somehow. So probably why the reason that they put Danny White up in the top order. But I feel that England, they've played Australia and the West Indies so far. Australia, obviously, the number one ranked team. So if they'd beaten them, it would have been a really good start. And they only just lost to Australia. So I thought they played pretty well in that game. And they sort of fell over just before beating the West Indies as well. And West Indies have sort of shown that they're the form side of the tournament other than yesterday. But I just feel that, at that stage, I think England are actually still playing quite good cricket. They just haven't learnt how to just do that extra bit to get over the line to win games. So today, when maybe being an absolute must win, against South Africa today, that might be the need to get them over the line, and the motivation that they require to just work out how to win games.
That's probably the motivation that they require. They've already strengthened their bowling attack. They're playing an extra bowling all-rounder today. I'll come to Dane there. Dane, are you okay with that change? I know you would want to see Amy Jones up there at the top of the order. Probably not against South Africa. But Daniel Wyatt is going to be that Lizelle Lee factor, which now England have at the top of the order. Because if she does well, it's going to be problematic to any team.
Yeah, I think Julia hit the nail on the head. I think that's probably what White's job's going to be, is to get them off to a fly and put the South Africans under pressure. Just coming off 100 and stuff, White hasn't been as comfortable against Shabnam Ismail and Marizan. So that was the interesting part when I saw her going at the top, because of the history there. But I mean, maybe because, like Julia mentioned, the freedom that just gives her, that opportunity to kind of take the game to South Africa and to Marizan and Shabnam. And so I think it's a good move, because at the moment what they've been doing hasn't been working, and the flip side at the moment with South Africa as well, what they're doing is not working 100% for them. So seeing that change is good, and then seeing Charlie Dean come in, I 100% agree again with Julia, where she's first of all handy with the bat down the order, and she's a very good spinner. We saw that in the 100, and we saw her in the recent series as well for a country. So and the wicket does take spin, so you kind of need that as well.
You kind of need that as well. The England openers, Beaumont, it's kind of that kind of a situation wherein Beaumont has been one of their best players in the last few years, since 2015-16 season. But finally, they've now pushed. So they played 3 years with Wyatt, got in Winfield Hill after last February. The only 2 series was the time Winfield Hill came at the top of the order, now dropped. Wyatt comes back. But does that kind of put a problem to that lower middle order, which Wyatt was kind of there? So, Julia, do you feel now they've put themselves in a spot wherein Catherine Brunt, who's not basically in the best of forms with the bat, will have to finish the innings for them as and when required?
I think Brunt's going all right with the bat, actually. I think she got a decent score against the Aussies, and yeah, she didn't get one in the last game, but at the same time, I think she goes all right. But at the same time, I think leaving it up to Catherine Brunt isn't the way that England should be worried about. They need Amy Jones to be getting runs. They've also got, obviously, Sophia Dunkley. She's been going pretty well also. So they've got a few options in there. And like I said, Charlie Dean will sort of come in there. It's probably bat slightly differently to Danny Wyatt, but at the same time can still hold a bat. They actually bat quite well. Eccleston's really turning into quite a really nice find for them as well, and developing into that bowling all-rounder as well. So to me, it's probably just about making sure that they're getting off to a reasonable start and allowing, because obviously the best batters are Heather Knight and Nat Siver, obviously, allowing them to be the primary people that they're going to be batting around, and everyone else needs to just be ticking it over and handing over the batting to those two. So, and that's the point of having a top order. They're supposed to be in the engine room, and they're supposed to be the ones that are getting the runs and not leaving it up to your 9, 10s and 11s if you can help it. Obviously, it's great if they can knock it over, as I said, just knock it around and get those ones and get them back on strike. But to me, I think it's a much better side in the way it is. I agree with Danny with regards to why it can be a little unpredictable at the top of the order against the new ball against, in South Africa, they've got an amazing attack in Ishmael and Cap, and obviously Ibonga Kaka has been doing fantastic as well. So it'll be a challenge, but at the same time, England had to change something, and I'm glad to see that they're doing that.
Glad something they're doing. Let's see the playing 11 that we have today. We've discussed most of it, but it's always good to put on screen and let the viewers see. England have made one particular change. Daniel Wyatt, maybe in this playing 11, she's slotted at number 5, but no, she's opening with Tammy Beaumont. Knight at 3, Silver at 4, Jones at 5, Dunkley there. They've we have an extra all-rounder in Charlie team. But now what has happened is Eccleston and Cross have mostly turned themselves into all-rounders, and we can see that batting lineup go as down as 10. And when we see the South African 11, Lizelle, Laura Woolward, Brits, Sunelis, Mignon Dupree, Marizan Kaap, Chloe Tryon, Trisha Chetty, Shabnim Ismail, Wasabata Class, Ayabonga Kaka, they haven't made any change to that 11. I'm going to ask Dane, are you surprised that they haven't made any change, because that number 3 and number 4 of Brits and Lees is both play the same role of that of an anchor? Do you feel it's too much of an anchoring role, and that to just that number 3 and number 4?
Yeah, look, for me, I think Sune has gone really well, but I think, there's a lot of pressure because the game kind of just stops after the openers. And I'm not taking away anything from Tasman, but she's always been a opener. And, yes, number 3 is number 3, and it's just one spot under opening, but it's a different role. If Laura Wolford and Lizali gets the team off to a flyer, that needs to continue. And I just feel like at the moment the game's stopping. They need to find ways to score. And yes, I am very surprised that South Africa has not made a change. I've been hammering on the frontline spinner. We spoke about the wicket-taking spin. Chloe bowled the bulk of the overs. That's somebody that's been a part-timer that's taking the bulk of the spin. And we know how good England is playing spin. So you kind of need that frontline spinner to put them under pressure. Because at the moment, you can see Sune is not as confident with her bowling. Otherwise, she would have bowled herself a little bit more, I would assume. So, yeah, for me, very surprising. I've mentioned in the past that South Africa has to start being brave in this World Cup and making brave calls. And at the moment, it just looks a bit timid again. And I've used that word a lot with them. It just looks a little bit timid. Maybe today things changed. Maybe the game plans have changed. Obviously I speak to Marizon a lot, and I haven't been speaking to her as much because they had a lot of meetings. So hopefully they got their plans in place, and in that regard, they become a bit more brave and taking the game to the opposition.
So Dane Wanika would have liked to see a specialist spinner come in for maybe Tasman Brits. Everyone shifts a bit up the order. Sunili's at 3, Mignon Dupree at 4, Kaap at 5. So that would have been the batting order, Dane, if that is what I understand from your end. Julia, do you feel that's the same case with you, or you would have given Tasman Brits another go?
Well, I think the fact that South Africa have won 2 games, it might be just hiding the fact that they have been a little bit weak. They're one of the lowest in the power plays. They're only going at 3.2 at the moment, so it's not. It's sort of been hidden by the fact that they're actually winning games. So sometimes winning isn't always the best thing to happen to a team, because it can expose a few different areas that or not expose a few different areas that need to be addressed. So for me, I don't mind Tasman maybe having one more chance at 3. It can be pretty tough, and we saw that with Lauren Winfield Hill. She got plenty of opportunities, and sometimes that's what players need to really just get into their role. But I'm okay with her having one more game potentially. But I agree with Dane. They haven't really bowled a lot of spin, and today is definitely going to be a spin-friendly wicket. I think it'd be good to be able to have a bit more spin being bowled at them. The bowlers have been outstanding, mind you. The bowling attack's been really good, but again, it can't always be the same bowlers. It's sort of people for different pitches, and at the moment, maybe they just need a slightly more diverse sort of group of bowlers in order for them to be able to get attacks out a little bit sooner. Because their batting isn't really putting the runs on the board that they need to be able to do at the moment. The bowlers can only defend so many runs all the time, so they really need to get those runs. I'd love to see Chloe try and maybe sneak in the order up a little if they're wanting to. She can hit the ball so beautifully, and I just think it'd be good to just get her to break up that batting order a little bit if it does tend to slow down. And I think she's just wasted down at 7 a little bit too much for mine. Love to see her just sneak in, have a little cameo in the middle, maybe get a quick 550 and get everyone back on track. So then, Mignon Dupree and Cappy and those guys can bring home the team. It's just my thoughts.
Julia would like to see Chloe Trayon. Everyone would like to see, because she brings that energy, those six hitting abilities, which probably no one else in the world can get you there. Let's come down to that, because South Africa is bowling first. Let's come down to that bowling attack. We all generally talk about Marizan Kaap and Shabnim Ismail, but Ayabonga Khaka has been their best bowler right now, in terms of the wickets taken. Let's come to her. She finished taking 100 ODI wickets in the first game. Um, and has been the best bowler for South Africa, but generally flies under the radar. Is probably more underrated than the when you compare to the other bowlers. Hasn't played a lot of leagues, but the other bowlers have generally been able to play WBBL, the 100. Danny, you've worked very closely with Ayabonga Khaka. What's something that makes her different? Still, she is very consistent into that 11. Is one of the pick of the bowlers always, but generally flies under the radar. Probably because the bigger names are always there.
Yeah, look, I think, yeah, as you mentioned, I've mentioned it a lot. She's very underrated, and maybe that's a good thing for her, that people are so stuck on, Shabnam and Marizan, and so focused on those two that's been so good for such a long time. And she just comes in, and she keeps it simple. And what I liked about her work is just she comes into the middle overs and bowls really well as well. She's very good with the new ball, but she can also come into the middle overs and strike. And that's what you want. You generally, as a team, you almost rely on your spinners to come into the middle and strike. But she's been doing that incredibly well, and I think that helps a lot for the South African team, where she can come in and strike. So there's not too much pressure on, I guess, a spinner that has to come in and strike. But as I mentioned, she's just kept it really simple. You can see that whenever she comes on to bowl, her field's where she wants it to be. She doesn't rely on anyone to kind of tell her where. She knows what she wants to do on that certain, or that at that given moment, and she backs that. She's a very good death bowler. She backs that Yorker, very good change up. So yeah, as I said, I think she is flying under the radar, but I think it might play in her favor as well. So yeah, she has been incredible, and we all knew that was going to happen, the way she's been building up in her career. So yeah, I'm very happy and very proud of her. She's such a quiet person off the field, and just really shy, but just coming to her own as a cricketer, and as a person within the side, and it's showing.
Coming to in as a person and everything that Ayabonga Khaka brings to the table, the top wicket taker for South Africa here in currently. One thing that in the discussion, that what I understood just before Khaka entered the conversation, one thing that I understood is the difference between South Africa and probably Australia, because these are the two countries a lot of people are saying should be playing the finals this year. Is what I understand is that ruthlessness. We saw yesterday Australia dropping Jess Jonassen just because she didn't fit into that 11, whereas she's the number one ranked ODI bowler. I think so. That ruthlessness is what makes Australia different to all the other teams that are probably playing the World Cup. We all need to bring that ruthlessness, that yes, you're not in form, or this particular conditions do not suit you. You can still sit out of this particular 11 and bring in someone who probably offers more variety and is probably suitable for these conditions, is what I understand. Let's come down to that bowling lineup. We all know it's probably a spin track that we will see today. One particular but South Africa miss out on a specialist spinner, is what we've already discussed. Chloe Trayon has bowled a certain number of overs into that lineup, but we've all kind of missed seeing a lot of Sunellis. Julia, do you feel that Sunellis needs to be messaged and told she already has 100 ODI wickets plus to her name, and she's not that particular bowler who doesn't know how to bowl at an international level?
Yeah, probably. And I think also the thing is, now that she's captain, sometimes it's difficult to know when to put yourself on or to put yourself ahead of other bowlers. It's that you've got to be a little bit selfish and sort of step away from that role for a moment to see when's the best time to bring on a spinner. So whether that's the problem with Sune not bowling herself as much, but I'd love to see her bowling more. I think Chloe Tryon's been doing a great job, but she's not really a wicket taker. She's been containing. It's been excellent in the fact that they're holding up one end. But if you're doing that, you've got to have the pressure on at the other end at the same time, and that hasn't really been the case at some stage. So I think, yeah, bringing Sune on, having a leg spinner is always a bonus to have in your team, and they're always extremely useful. And like I've said, this pitch does like to take spin, so it'll be handy having a spinner on. And even if sometimes a spinner doesn't even have to land it and they get the wickets. You sometimes can buy that one that gets belted out to mid-wicket, and at the same time, it's still just that surprise ball. But I just think, yeah, she just needs to get some overs in, get some confidence, maybe have a chat to the vice captain and really have a plan about, and the coach, and have a plan about what's the best time to bowl myself. I'm just a bit confused as to when I should be coming on and what the situation is and when do I, so it doesn't appear that I'm just bowling myself because I'm the captain. I'm bowling myself because it's the best time to bowl the leg spinner.
Danny, you worked a lot with the coach. Does the coach get involved in the on-field decisions, or is it only solely on the captain and that leadership group on the ground who are going to take most of the decisions there on the field?
No, look, Hilton is he's always given me free reins as a captain. That's why I am captain. They kind of have to trust my judgment on the field. Certainly off the field, we speak about tactics and we speak about what we want to do and just kind of formulate a blueprint. But Julia knows, everybody knows that the game doesn't go the way you kind of expect it. That's the beauty of the game. So he's been incredible. I've loved captaining, under him as a coach because, yeah, he's given me free reins and, he's always backed the decisions I've made. And sometimes I made the wrong decisions, but the nice thing is we'll have a conversation afterwards. He's not like a fighter, like a conflict. There will never be conflict. You always want to just find out. He's a lot more relaxed character. So I think, with Sune, I assume it would be the same. I don't know if it changed a little bit just because of I won't say inexperience, but just with that regard. But she's got a lot of people around her as well, and I think Hilton will allow the seniors around her to also just have some inputs. I can see a lot on social media that her and Chloe has really created a nice bond, and that's good for the team, that the captain and the vice captain is growing closer, and I can see that they're talking to each other quite often on the field as well. So I think Hilton would leave that to that, and maybe just ask the questions afterwards.
Let's just hope Chloe, just like Chloe is bowling a lot, Chloe puts that thing to Sune that you need to bowl. Go there, take that ball, and just put some leg spin to it. We're soon up there for the match. I think so. 5 minutes away from the first ball. Let's come down to that predictions. Julia, kind of a must-win game for England. South Africa won 2, but they won it against Pakistan and Bangladesh, who were like the lower ranked sides and still had close games. So South Africa have not won comfortably against a top ranked side yet. They're playing first. They're playing. Of course, England is still not ranked above them in that ICC rankings, but they're still defending champions. Maybe one of the contenders for that top 4. Do you feel it's going to be another South African day? It's going to be another close game for them, or do you feel England is just going to come there and say, "Okay, boss, we've done with whatever has happened till now, and now it's the time that we're going to show why we are the defending champions"?
Yeah, I mean, I think England are going to win today. Sorry, Danny. However, I actually think South Africa have had a really good draw, and they've not necessarily been lucky that they're still sort of working out things. Obviously, with Dane not being there as captain, it does put a big, spanner in the works. It is difficult changing captains, and it does change the dynamic of the group a little bit. So they've probably bought themselves a little bit of time and got away with it. They've had 2 wins, which is great. So it hasn't affected them on the points table. But I think they're going to be slowly getting better throughout the tournament. But I also think as soon as they play a team like England, which is a better team, I think they will naturally lift their own standards as well. I think they've sort of been playing to just get over the line, and now England are going to push them, and we know South Africa's a quality team. So I'm picking England will just get over the line, but I think it's going to be a really high-quality game, big scoring game, and it's going to be just a awesome women's cricket to watch. So I'm looking forward to this, but England for the win for me.
Awesome women's cricket for is what we're going to see, is what Julia predicts, but she predicts an England win. I am with you, Danny. I want South Africa to pick a win, because that's one way that England have thrown out of the tournament. India have a certain chance in that semis. So I am there with you. I know you're supporting South Africa. I'm just going to ask you this directly, that where do you feel South Africa is going to restrict England in this particular scoring thing?
Yeah, look, I think South Africa is going to have to bat today. They got away with lower scores against probably more experienced teams and probably lower ranked side. And the bowling unit, again, has done their job. But we need to be realistic. It is a better batting lineup. It's a more experienced lineup. And it's also is the defending champion. So South Africa, yes, they're probably going to chase, but they're going to have to step up with a bat and make sure, first of all, they restrict them to something I guess manageable and chaseable. So I just think with the bowling they're going to have to put England under pressure and try and maybe play on that, the two losses and really put them under pressure early and see how it goes. And I think key wickets for them is Heather Knight and Nat Siver. I think that's quite key in my opinion. So I think South Africa needs to, I guess, target that because that is their engine room. That's people they've been banking on a lot. So, and then also just the batting has to click today, in my opinion.
What's the target England is going to chase South Africa today?
Who's chasing today? It's South Africa's chasing, right? South Africa's bowling.
South Africa is chasing. England is batting first. So where do you see England putting that total today after 50 overs?
Oh, yes, that's difficult. Again, they haven't been playing bad. I think Julia hit the nail on the head there. They actually haven't been playing bad cricket. It's just they've been beaten by better sides on the day. So I think just knowing England, they are going to come hard at South Africa. So I think you look at anywhere between 240 to 260 at least. That probably what they would be wanting to, just give their bowlers something to bowl at. But I mean, we always know they push the envelope and they try and push that 300. They have scored 300 against us in the past in 2017. So, I just think just to play it safe, just to be neutral, I'll go 250, 260.
240, 260 is what Dane Van Niekerk is predicting. Julia, what's your score? What's England going to put up?
Yeah, I think they'd be pretty happy around the 260 mark. I think, it's a good pitch. It's a little slow, but a very fast outfield. So they're going to have to. The fact that you guys have, there's a pretty good pace attack allows them to just sort of use the pace of the bowlers a little bit. So you're going to have to be pretty careful with your bowling today. But yeah, I'm thinking around 260 would be a good chase by South Africa because at the moment they haven't been batting that well. But yeah, I think if you guys can restrict, if you can get Wyatt and Beaumont early, which I think they're both nickable chances early with your pace attack, I think that'll put the brakes on England a fair bit. And if you can get them under 220, I think you'll win. If they get over 250, unfortunately, I think they're going to win.
Julia is saying if it's 250 plus, it's an England win. 260 is what she thinks England is going to put up. Anything less than 220, South Africa is winning. Anything between 220 and 250 is going to be a tougher competition, is what we're going to see today. That's it from us here on the Outside View pre-show of the all-important game between defending champions England and South Africa. We'll meet you at the mid-show. Let's see who's going to be a little up, England or South Africa.